Do you think it's important for musicians at a conservatoire like the RNCM to be able to adapt to different playing styles? Do you think that's part of what they should be learning, particularly for modern music?
Yes, if they want to do that in the future, they have to be able to adapt to anything really, unless they want to get stuck within just one kind of music.
And tell me what it's like working with musicians who are obviously a very high standard, but more or less classically trained, so maybe from a slightly different tradition from some of the musicians you might normally work with. Can you just tell me about that?
I think it just took a little while for them to get this, you know. At first, they maybe got the individual parts sent by the orchestra manager and looked at them and thought, oh, this is really easy, I don't really need to rehearse this, just a few notes, you know. And then came to rehearsal and it wasn't really, the feeling wasn't there because they didn't really understand what was happening. But after we had the first full run-through of the whole piece, after that all of a sudden they got it, you know. They understand, hey, okay, this guy is just not doing what we're used to and we have to adapt to that. And then they really did. When they got a chance to understand the story and the feelings within the piece, they started playing it beautifully, and they started playing it without constantly thinking about their classical training and just thinking about their feelings and just an expression of that. I definitely don't feel like a part of the classical world. I've never considered myself a classical musician in that way. And I know that the people within that world, they split into sides on how they look at what I do and what other people doing the same thing I'm doing.
Well, I would say that the classical contemporary music scene is quite a closed circle, and that's a shame, I think. But the problem is they have quite they have a problem with a music that's just trying to be beautiful and use language that may have been used before, but it's used in this context in a different way, I think. And then you get very often you get a very aggressive reaction by these people against this music, and they think, you know, it's not worth the money and the effort.
The classical world says, you know, you're not classical enough to be included in what we're doing. And we get this from, for example, radio. I'm too classical for the pop radio stations, and I'm too pop for the classical radio stations. I'm nowhere, basically.
I've experienced that even with friends of mine who I thought were open with, you know, like pop music as well as classical music. But maybe they're just uncomfortable with this because they can't quite, you know, categorize it, which draw it should go into, and therefore it makes them feel uncomfortable, I think.